Telephones may not ring a bell to you, but in the Dallas music scene, they are regarded as an important part of its history.
Well, they were one of the bands that I used to sneak in to see at the Hot Club in 1981, 1980. I was in junior high school. Our bus route actually took us by the Hot Club every day, and I would see their posters all over the telephone poles all over town. I used to actually rip them down and hang them on my wall.
The Dirks brothers, Steve, Jerry, and Chris, and later joined by Mark Griffin, established themselves during the punk and new wave era.
The stuff that was underground then is now mainstream. You know, the so-called alternative rock is what we and other bands were doing 20 years ago, and then it became more popular and more acceptable to radio.
Before adding his trumpet sound to the band, Mark Griffin was already a big fan.
I moved to Dallas in '79, and I started going to the original punk rock club here in town, which is called DJ's, and became a big fan of the band. I'd gone to see a lot of their shows before.
Unlike the rotary phone, thanks to Jerry's songwriting, the Telephones' music survives the time.
Just because they had good songs. A lot of people got into sounds that don't age, but they didn't do too much of that. They just ended up with songs that stand the test of time.
When we came out, it was sort of the new age punk era, but our music, I think, was a little more, slightly more mainstreamish, more closer to hard rock pop than.
Things were different in the music business in those days, and because of that, a lot of bands found it hard to make their way.
Maybe, I think they'd fit right in. I mean, I think Dallas has a lot of underlooked talent, a lot of bands out there who could have done a lot better.
Especially back then in Dallas, there was no industry at all, and very little industry interest from New York or LA. You really kind of had to leave. Now it's a little more on the map, so to speak, and I think record companies are more likely to at least pay attention to Dallas, because some bands have come out of here since then.
The Telephones did try their luck in Los Angeles, but with unanswered calls in California, they returned home and soon went on to other things. Mark has stayed in contact with the brothers, so getting together wasn't the hard part.
We've actually been having a lot of fun, just joking around and stuff, but you realize you're kind of rusty, and I think we're obviously not at the same peak playing level as we were 20 years ago, but I think it still sounds pretty good.
It was just a fun thing to do, just for the hell of it, and it was interesting to notice that we remembered most of the tunes. After 20 years of living the rock and roll lifestyle, you're kind of amazed when you remember anything.
And though some remember the Telephones and the impact that they made, there are many hearing them for the first time.
But I'm wondering if realistically how many people in Dallas, would really care whether we're playing or not. But we hadn't done it in so long, and just every now and then it's good to shake the cobwebs off.
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, of course we feel like the old geezers of the show, so it'll be interesting to see, but I think we'll probably get a pretty good response.
I'm curious to see, I think it's good music, and I think it's timeless music, but I'm curious to see if it's really going to be true from the audience's standpoint.
Because I think a lot of people need to hear what they did, and they need to appreciate Dallas's history and its present. So I think having them right alongside Slobberbone and Death Ray Davies and all those other bands, I think, people need to hear their present and their past.
It's nice to see that the Telephones can fit right in with today's bands. This is Stacy Main, rocking about town for ICTN.
The Telephones' original vinyl records are hard to find, and when you do, they sell for about $20 each.